I've literally been. That wasn't bad.
That was really good.
That was just my normal expel.
See, that's and I've been literally practicing, like hardcore screaming and stuff, and I've like
Really?
No, I've been like making an honest effort of it to like learn and train myself and
Just to better yourself as like a self-improvement thing.
There is a project that I've been kind of like thinking about doing and sitting on for some time, which I don't want to talk about too much now, just in case it doesn't happen. But I have ambitions to do it, which is like, it's a small little EP or something like that of some music. But
That's wonderful.
I've never been a vocalist, but I've always been like, I'm a huge fan of hardcore and deathcore, metalcore, whatever. And I really want to participate as a vocalist or whatever. And so like, it's startlingly, it's not easy. But it's the point is to scream in the correct way rather than the incorrect way. And the incorrect way, of course, is like doing it like, just putting a lot of air through your vocal cords and hurting it like, like that. That's bad for it. But there's the false chord, which is like literally exactly what you were doing there, which is like, and then there's the fry chord, which I think, Carrie, you would appreciate the most. Do the Kardashian vocal fry. Where it's like, but then put air through it. So it's like, there you go. You're a hardcore vocalist.
It's so funny that you're. I love like listening to you. I love listening to you like talk about this in this way because like every guy that I've ever known who is a vocalist like that, like probably never put more than like 2 seconds into it. Yeah. Of thought. They were just like screaming into the mic, and they just did it naturally. Like they just knew it, like.
And you're gonna put the hurt on yourself fucking in a hurry. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to do it right. And like I was always jealous of tenors and stuff that could sing up real high, and so I spent like 5 or 10 years like just trying to train myself so I could sing in the upper register without hurting myself too much. And then I was just like, well, I'll never be able to scream. And then I realized it's not like a fucking innate skill that is just like it is, you have it or you don't. Like, no, you can learn it. It's a thing. It's a
you
skill
can't learn
set.
it. You can't learn it. Yeah.
And I have like I've been listening to. Holy shit, this is one of like the hardest like pieces. Maybe we could, I don't even know if this is making it in, but we could include, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but we could play it here if you wanted to, which is the song in the Hellfire or something like that by Lorna Shore, To the Hellfire. And it is like, this guy is so talented that what he did like with his, it's like literally like,
that sounds like you're doing a really aggressive, like little snore, like the honk shoe thing, but you're doing it like
yes,
really
no, it's known as moderate sleep apnea. But it's so there's so much talent in it. Like it jazzes me up, and so I really what I have been doing is like when I'm biking in the city all the time and like going over the bridges and stuff, and I'm literally practicing as I'm city biking,
like screaming in your helmet.
I'm literally just like,
I love that.
I want to point out too.
Yeah.
A few seconds ago, you said, I don't even know how we started talking about this, which is like what it's like when I say like I don't know how we got on the subject of World War I, but now that we're here.
Oh man.
Nobody knows how we started talking about The Bachelor, but let me just fill you in on a couple of the top 10 moments.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's dude, and I miss going to concerts, miss being in the pit. Which is on the other hand, like I had like a whole career as like a jazz drummer and shit like that, and that was like my first love. But I think that this genre stands up to the test of time.
Could you do the Till Lindemann voice from Rammstein?
Oh, he's
please.
like deep,
sonorous. Yeah. Okay.
Feuer,
now,
Feuer.
Yeah.
Now you sprechen Sie
Yeah.
my language. No,
Bang, bang.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking
But
about.
that's what my voice is geared for.
So excited right now.
That's what my voice is geared for. That's like the stentorian.
Can you do the rolling R? The yeah, dude. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's
now Shane is like hyped up.
That's what my voice was meant to do, and none of this fucking shit. I always loved the vocalists that had like higher registers and shit, and it'll never be me. It'll never be me. I could have been one of the great metalcore vocalists, except for the fact that I had no talent in the genre. And here I am in my 30s, turning it around. I feel like
dude.
And it like I certainly had this in undergrad. Like there were adults that were in college, and like they were like
me.
Yeah, well, like very like earnest, sitting in the front of the class, like asking participating questions, because it's like it's hard to appreciate if you like. I don't know. I was lucky growing up in the Northeast to like have access to all of these like hardcore bands. It was a very specific time in the early 2000s, late 90s, something like that.
Sure.
Side note, I had a manic thought, which clearly is continuing this morning, which is I'm just going to present it to you, and I think it could be a thing, because all of this kind of like cryptocurrency is based off of just like hype or whatever. And I
want to do an NFT.
Ready? Ska coin.
Oh yeah, dude! Pick it up!
It's writing itself.
It sells itself.
It's there. It's a low hanging ska coin.
Yeah.
And anytime,
you're right.
I'm gonna have one of those like websites that tracks the ledger or whatever. And anytime there's a transaction, you just hear.
Yeah. Bad news. If you Google ska crypto, you will see that there is already activity maybe happening in this space. No, I think the ska might stand for something else.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Probably
good,
something.
Good.
Hang on, there is a ska, or maybe just sconf.
Scott, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm trying to. I didn't know if I could figure it out quick enough to.
Yeah, this feels very not ska oriented.
No, I don't think it is, but it could be if we make it so.
I'm ready for it.
Think about it.
All right, where were we? Didn't expect all that to happen.
Yeah, what are we doing?
This is the 100th episode, right?
Oh yeah, hey,
of the Patreon at least.
Welcome back.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, we launched the Patreon 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago, yeah.
About 2 years ago. And I think we wanted to do a special reading.
Listen, I was over babysitting for my ex's nephew the other weekend, and his name is Joseph Anthony, J.A. We call him Jackass for short, is what I think about him. But he had this fucking book that his mother must have gotten for him, called the NYC ABCs, which for the entirety of my growing up, I thought it was assholes, bozos, and clowns in this fucked up city. But
it should be the NYPD ABC.
Oh, hey, listen,
that's what it should be.
That's our brothers and sisters in arms. The thin blue line, taking care. You think you would go outside without the boys in blue?
Thin. It's not a thin line. It's a very thick blue line with no neck.
It's a button on a collar that's so stressed out from holding back. Every time the heart takes a beat, it's just bulging. The carotid artery is like a fucking Major Deegan on a Friday afternoon.
Oh my god!
Look at this fucking bullshit. God. Look at this. I had to read this to this jerk off kid.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And it was
you gotta read.
I was coming.
Grade school.
I was coming from the VFW. I picked up a cup of Fireballs on the way on the gas station. I drank them while I was going over there. Cause I have to listen to fuck a Coco Melon.
Is that the one? Is that the one next to the Knights of Columbus?
Well, there's 2 Knights of Columbuses in that intersection. Victory Boulevard.
They go to war occasionally.
So I'm
east and west.
I'm reading this kid. It starts with A. alternate side parking. I've had a 97 Bronco that I've never paid a parking ticket.
It's got a boot on every wheel.
The NYPD will give you a you can park anywhere for $60 ticket. It doesn't matter where you are. It all costs is $60.
A permanent monument to my stubbornness. It stays in the street. It's been covered by street sweepers, snow plows, the works.
Look at this shit. B for Bergdorf Goodman's Christmas window.
Is that a fancy Joe College name for Macy's? The fuck is Bergdorf Goodman?
It's for all the highfalutins marching up Fifth Avenue with their noses in the air.
Give me a fucking break.
I gotta take Joseph Anthony to go see these freaking little rats in tuxedos, the Central Park Zoo penguins.
You hate penguins too?
They're fucking. They don't even fucking fly. You trying to tell? I had a science teacher in 10th grade, which was my last year in formal education, and they said they're trying to tell us that these were birds. And I'm looking at them like they're fucking wet.
No fucking
they're fucking wet.
They're the type of pigeon, which ain't no kind of bird.
I'm not even.
C should be for cigarettes, which you can't even fucking smoke anymore in the city. Thanks to the nanny state. You used to be able to smoke while you were first responding. Now, you can't even smoke while you're second or third responding. Is bullshit.
It should be secondhand responding. First smoking, secondhand responding. D, look at this bullshit. D is a dozen. Dahlia.
Delilahs.
What the fuck?
That's a woman which betrays you.
I don't understand. All these broads just want these dead plants brought to them. I'm like, what the fuck?
A dozen dahlias. Give me a fucking break. You're lucky if you get one chrysanthemum.
You want some dead fucking roses, or you want a Bialy? What is your choice?
D should clearly be for donuts. You should cross that out right in donuts.
Look at this. It says E for everything bagel, which. It's
a pretty good one.
It's
that's
not bad.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
I used to go to the one next to the other Knights of Columbus. I went to the bodega and they just fry it too hard, and then he got all burnt garlic and onion on the top of it. It's breaking the roof of my mouth like it's a fucking ice pick.
I love that. I love when it's burnt, when all the little bits on it are little like bits of charcoal that get stuck in your lung. Oh, I love it.
This is just really you.
F it.
I'm not breaking kayfabe, all right? We're committed to this bit. We're gonna do it as much as it is hurting my various internal parts.
I heard this other millennial snowflake talking about doing it, screaming the right way. So maybe you can listen to him.
I guess I should have been listening during that part instead of just being a little checked out. We are where we are. What's F? Let's move on to F.
F is for the fifth floor walk up. Which
that scans. That scans.
That's all the way. They have those in Hell's Kitchen, and in July you get home and you die because it's 98 degrees and 90% humidity for 5 flights of stairs.
They have a dialysis machine on each landing, and you hook yourself up. You get a little rejuvenation, and then you keep on trucking.
My cousin, who's also named Joseph Anthony, he's a realtor, and he says you can negotiate with the landlord to throw in a defibrillator. They get the ones, the expired ones that are past the warranty. You can get from health and hospitals. I know a guy at the back of Bellevue. You go to him, you say fish, he says stink, and he gives you the defibrillator. Plus, you got to bring him one of the Bialys.
My cousin, whose name is just Scumbag, he runs a newsstand on the landings of the 5th floor walk-up that I live in. So, halfway through, you can pause, you can get a little candy, you can get a little, a New York Post, whatever.
I'm skipping G because it's bullshit. I'm looking at H.
No, what's G? Come on, what's G?
G is Great Scott. I love that movie. No, the Guggenheim Museum, which is
fucking museum
in
New York. What are you talking about? I've never even heard of that.
I have never been above 34th Street because that's where Penn Station is. That's all I need to know.
I love not knowing anything that you guys are talking about.
I'm sure our listeners will too.
You don't watch Saturday and Live? What's his fucking name? Donald Trump Jr. He wrote that.
Junior.
He wrote S.
Junior.
In a tweet, he wrote S and L. He thought
so
like
cool.
That's right.
S ampersand L. What a fucking idiot.
Saturday and Live. That's how I feel every Saturday.
This is the shit that drives me up the fucking wall. The hipsters and their bikes. H.
Oh, come on.
Everybody, they think they own the road. And, they think they own the road, and they're just driving around talking about climate change and changing their bike tires.
It's well established that New York was designed for personal motor vehicles, all right? The narrowness of the streets and the sheer age of the city. Bikes are a newfangled thing. You won't catch me for my fucking life riding one of those. And when I'm on the street, I'm driving a car so old that the entire frame and plating is made out of steel, and it's 1,000 gallons of for a mile. And if I'm on the sidewalk, I'm on a scooter.
Thank God we don't have, communist Bill de Blasio anymore in power.
Comrade de Blasio.
He said, we have this Vision Zero initiative for no deaths from cars and pedestrians. And now that we have Commandant Adams in power, the new Vision Zero is 0 bicycles on the streets.
That's right. Strong man.
I is for I Love New York t-shirts, and this parenthetically says, here I go with my $10 words, acquired in Grand Central, which is factually incorrect. You would get them at Pennsylvania Station.
That's right.
Grand Central is for all the fops and dandies that live up in Westchester and Fairfield County.
My shirt does not say I love New York. It just says I am New York. And that's meant to be as menacing as it sounds.
J is for jaywalking. If you ain't crossing the street and doing that little hustle walk that you do to indicate the car that's barreling towards you that you're doing your level best, despite the fact that you need a hip replacement. I was crossing Victory Boulevard the other day to get to the other Knights of Columbus because I had...
Victory!
There was 3 of them there now because there was a schism between the Fratelli brothers. The problem because one of them wouldn't, take the other one out fishing for sea bass in October because he had access to one of the boats that one of the other jerk-offs had. Now, granted, he had passed, but... it was bequeathed to the other Knights of Columbus to have the boat, and they really wanted the sea bass, so that was a problem.
Yeah, you got this. Take a breath. You got it. Just remember to inhale. I forget that all the time.
K is for kitten.
Well, hold on. Before we move on from Jay, I just gotta say, jaywalking. I do appreciate being on here, but let's be real. For me, it's jay-waddling.
And that's not because I'm out of shape. It's an attitude. I don't.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to be going.
It's a demeanor. It's my gait.
I want to be going as laterally as I am going forward.
Hey, I'm lurching here.
K is for kitten in the bodega, which, I mean, all these broads are talking about, toxoplasmosis because they got these freaking butts sitting down on the Bialys. And I say, would you rather have that or would you have a rat crawling all over?
I would be fine with either, but I do like the little kitty cats in the bodega. For some reason, I don't know what this says about my psychological profile. I'm just utterly hostile to all other human beings, but small little animals I have deep affection for. I don't know. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, all right?
L is for lunchtime for the film crew, and I know this was written for a jerk off because it's depicting a picture of a taco truck, which is factually incorrect. It would be a turkey club with no mayonnaise.
That's right. And why does it gotta be the film crew, all right? Why can't it just be lunchtime for the crew? You know what I'm saying?
Or anyone else that happens to be walking past them that maybe wants to pick up a bag of chips or a cup of coffee.
Right. I just do want to say that I'm not in character, so I can say this, but yes. Every single time that we leave the house and we see any kind of food truck, Shane says, like, why can't there be a deli truck?
Yes! Sometimes I want to stand on a sidewalk and eat a turkey club with a toothpick sticking out of my soft palate because I ate it too fast.
You gotta walk and eat. That's critical. It's good for digestion. It's good for mobility. You get there. I'm always in a rush to get wherever I'm going. There's no such thing as a leisurely stroll. Okay, everything is a panicked lurch from objective to objective, and in between, I must hydrate and have snacks.
I have never left on time or given myself any amount of grace to take my time and arrive not sweating, which I'm doing even just sitting here. M is for MetroCard, which, I mean...
What happened to the coins?
Give me the
What
tokens.
happened to the tokens? I got a fucking roll of tokens in a sock. I'd like to show the attendant, all right?
Every time Joseph Anthony keeps staying up past 9:30, I say, don't make me get the sock full of coins. I'll beat you with it, son. Good. N is for the New York Times with coffee stains, which is bullshit because there's only one recognized piece of, journalism, which is
New York Post.
The New York Post. It's all you got to
I like to call it the New York Crimes because it's filled with lies. That magazine.
Be sure not to miss their profile on Congressman Ilhan Omar. It's level-headed and very illuminating.
I also gotta say, if you wanted a wider readership, why is it like $2? The New York Post was like $0.25 for most of my life. I mean, maybe that's your fucking problem right there. All right, all the news that's fit to print my ass. All right.
If you have any copies of the New York Times, do yourself a favor and use it to line the bottom of a fucking bird cage, as it's worth shit.
I use it to line the cage for my cousin. Scumbag.
O is for overwhelmed dog walker.
Overpaid dog walker is what it should be, all right?
This is factually incorrect because he has a medical cannabis prescription. He's definitely not overwhelmed. He's enjoying a nice sour hybrid. It's indica heavy, so, he's just relaxed.
You know when you see them dog walkers with whatever, just a gaggle of fucking mutts leading them, they ought to tie that to those, those old fancy pre-cars they got in Central Park, with the horses. Just tie all the dogs to that, and there you go, free travel.
All these freaking environmental activists and PETA and all this bullshit trying to tell me that, just because you see a horse being abused by its handler, and just because he's one fucking hoof away from the glue factory telling me that shit's inhumane, it's romantic to be going for a nice, beautiful dinner somewhere fancy at Rayo's, and then be drawn behind a farting horse in a rat-infested, moonlit, beautiful Central Park. Come on. It's bullshit.
The fucking, it might not be the best, but those horses got jobs. You're gonna take those jobs away from them? Then I'm gonna have to pay for their welfare out of my tax dollar, all right? I don't think so, and I also don't pay taxes.
Taxation is theft. Look it up, Lyndon LaRouche. Look at this dirty broad. P is for Pilates and pigeons. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. And this is I done a plank once, which was in gym school in 1967, and I got kicked in the ribs by Coach Pilazzato. He liked me. I was his favorite.
P should be for please and thank you. None of these kids got fucking manners anymore.
The Q is for the Q train, which is delayed. This is bullshit. There is only one form of transportation. It's the Staten Island Ferry.
They should put that. They should turn Canal Street back into a canal, and they should have a ferry that goes up and down. Do you remember the Beast?
What?
The Beast?
My ex-wife?
No, it was like a water taxi themed experience called the Beast. It was like a motorboat that had teeth painted on the front of it. The New York Beast. Does anybody know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore? I feel like I don't even recognize this city.
The only motor vehicle that I've been remotely interested in, aside from my 1977 Lincoln Continental, was a very specific memory of Midtown Manhattan, which is the truck covered in fucking skeletons going to Jekyll and Hyde. I know that Shane is the only person that knows what I'm talking about. It's a Jekyll and Hyde themed restaurant that definitely
That's right, yeah.
bankrupted individuals, but it ran at a loss for 8.5 years.
They had a drink there that was like in a big plastic syringe. It was like a shot. Cost like $18. And you would get it, and they would shoot it right into your mouth, and you'd get your tummy sick from that.
They got shut down because they brought out a drink for kids that had smoke coming out of it, but it turns out that dry ice was not very good for the under fives, and they got shut down by the fascists at the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Teresa, get me the Rolaids. R is for Rolaids. S is for schlepping. I can't even say this shit. I know this ain't for me. Schlepping. I know. Yeah. Well, we know about that. T is for the Times Square celebration.
Twin Towers is what it should be for. This book has no respect or recognition of the history of the city. It should just be the Twin Towers, and I'm sick of hearing otherwise.
U is for the Upper East Side Twins.
Now they're just throwing it in my fucking face. I just said it was the Lower West Side Twins, and they were towers, and that's the end of it. If you're gonna even include such a ridiculous letter in this book, U should be for yous guys. Hey, how you doing, etc.
V is for a very little ballerina at Lincoln Center.
I didn't say that one.
I don't know what they're trying to get across with this.
I didn't say that one. All right.
Who wrote this? W is for Wall Street executives.
Slaughter them.
They are our kings. They give us money.
They're job creators, all right. And one day I'm gonna be one of those. I've been listening to the John Tobacco show, and I feel like I'm gonna get my finances in order this year.
If God forbid any of you go to church on a Sunday, but Jesus had thrown the money lenders out of the temple way back when, in probably the early 30s. And yet somehow
we're bringing them back.
Ideologically, I have been able to turn this around in my head and say that these people are good, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
X they were getting very thin at the end of this.
Oh, lazy.
Extra mustard on a pretzel. A guy near the 9/11 memorial tried to sell me a fucking pretzel for $9. I told him to go stuff it where the sun don't shine.
I gave him $9.11, and I said, "All right, pal. You want to be respectful? You can't one-up me. I'm bitter, and I got a lot of time to burn. I'll count out out every fucking penny. Don't tempt me.
Y is for yellow taxis. I think it's okay that a taxi medallion costs $1.2 million that you have to pay back over the course of your working life and transfer your debts to your firstborn son, which is the way that it should work.
Now, they, I don't even remember when this happened, but now they got green taxis, and, I fear change. I just instinctually, I feel a prejudice against this new color of a taxi. I can't stand it. Oh, here they come for me. The dog police. What is this, 1974? The novel?
The last one, Z, is made for us. It is a zillionaire and his son jogging.
Wait, his son spelled with a Z too?
If you find them, hit them in their knees with a crowbar.
I'm a fucking zillionaire. I got $1 million in 9/11 commemorative coins.
I need a big cup of tea with some honey in it.
My voice will never be the same. Listen to me. I sound like I'm playing that music that you jerk-offs listen to. Look at me. I can do it too.
A little 100 episode Patreon treat.
Now you know the alphabet.
Now you know everything you need to know, both about spelling and that wonderful city we love.
New York City, baby.
Newark.
Newark. What is it? I can't remember if is it Trenton? I always pass by it on the bridge. If it's Trenton or Newark, I mean, it's like Trenton makes, the world takes.
That sounds so about? Like fascist immediately.
No.
Hold on.
I feel like you've definitely pointed this out to me when we've been driving through.
Oh, because it's like right near fucking Philly, right?
Yeah. It's Trenton makes, the world takes is like on big letters.
What the fuck does that mean?
I think it's supposed to be like it's about like the fact that it's like a manufacturing hub. Here, I'll just send the this picture. You can look at it. But yeah, when you drive by, or also on the Amtrak, whenever we take it from Philly to New York,
right.
You see it like the bridge that the Amtrak goes over is right next to it.
Every time we take the train through New Jersey, Shane is like, "Are you seeing this? Look, look at it."
This is what they took from us. Just because the FDA disapproved of our asbestos manufacturing that we were doing in suburban Trenton in the 70s and 80s, the golden era of environmental disasters. Now we can't make shit no more. We gotta sell it to China.
Fuck. That hurts.
Yeah.
I'll feel better.
It was so worth it, though, for me, anyway. I mean,
yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, I hope our listeners enjoyed that. A few people have mentioned they quite enjoy the Jimmy bits, so we thought, for this special episode, we'd give you an extra helping of that.
I'm recovering. I'm cool.
Winding down.
Yeah. I think for the rest of this episode, given the fact that it's this sort of milestone for us, and I had also just incidentally kind of started putting together like a long, just spreadsheet for our own internal things of like all the episodes we've done and the people we've covered. And it's like, wow, we've covered a lot of fucking people and stuff on the show. And we wanted to do another kind of Sicko Roundup. That another edition of that we did a few weeks back. So with that in mind, we do want to get into talking about some of the people that we've covered previously on the show, and how do we want to do this? I think each one of us has a little bit of an update on some people. Who wants to go first?
Want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah.
It's not. I'm literally just choking.
Are you sure you want to go first?
Pain.
Do you need like a soothing massage to your vocal cords or something?
Bring me to Southern Comfort. That's the real sweet shit.
So we had done an episode a while back, and again, this is something that I've made no secret that I'm particularly passionate about, and I think that the left should broadly be focusing on these kind of like large multinational conglomerates that take it just hold an enormous amount of power over the resources that run our lives. And so that's the reason, one of the reasons why we had suggested and did an episode on one of the largest metals and mining companies in the world, Rio Tinto.
It was episode 66.
Which had, I mean, just... if you haven't listened to it, I recommend that you go back and take a listen, because I'm going to allude to one of the things when I give you a little kind of sicko update right now. But, I mean, the amount of death and destruction at their hands that they, purvey, it's sick. And so when I saw this article, and I was reminded by a friend of the show on Twitter, Norcho, about one article, which I'll talk about in a second, but I looked into this, and this had come out earlier, about a month ago, February 1st. And I'm going to read here from a Guardian article, the title of which is Bullying, Sexual Harassment, and Racism Rife at Rio Tinto, Workplace Review Finds. And it said almost half of the 10,000 person survey respondents employed globally by the mining company say they have been bullied amid culture of silence. Now, I will just say this too, to set this up. This is a common thing that large enterprises do, which is they'll send like a yearly, quote, anonymous survey to their employees to say like, hey, how we doing? What's going on in the culture? And if you can imagine, I mean, especially, in the kind of in America, where there's kind of like late stage capitalism and neoliberal style of work life, where you are in a quote competitive, working environment in which your job is theoretically always being clamored after by people that are trying to fill it. There is an incentive to lie or to omit issues when you're self-reporting, on what is clearly a disgusting culture of, harassment and violence. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that this is as bad as it is, I would allege, just without knowing anything, just by the nature of these things, that it is so much worse. And so I'm gonna read here from this Guardian article by Ben Butler, and it reads as follows: Bullying, sexual harassment, and racism are common throughout Rio Tinto, according to a review of the global miners' workplace culture conducted by Australia's former Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Elizabeth Broderick. Rio Tinto's executive, Jakob Stalsholm, said that the findings were deeply disturbing, and he promised the company would implement all 26 recommendations Broderick made to improve his culture. And I would say here, too, that, the CEO took over, and I think it mentions this later on, but the CEO, Jakob Stalsholm, took over for the other guy that was ousted because it turns out that they blasted through a 46,000-year-old rock shelters, like,
oh my God.
Like early civilization. they knowingly did this, and so he was ousted. So just to remember, to remind yourself, if you hadn't listened to the episode that we did on it. But I'm going to continue here. It says, this is Stalsholm talking. He said, I offer my heartfelt apology to every team member, past or present, who has suffered as a result of these behaviors, he said Tuesday. This is not the kind of company we want to be. Broderick and her team, this is the Sex Discrimination Commissioner, Broderick and her team received survey responses from 10,000 of Rio's 45,000 employees and conducted 109, quote, group listening sessions around the world. They also had 85 confidential one-on-one meetings. Broderick said the majority of women who responded experienced everyday sexism, such as being left out of meetings, not being provided with a women's toilet, or even being asked to take notes, get coffee, or do a colleague's washing.
What?
I don't know if that means, I think like in the kind of like non-American English-speaking world, like the washing is, that's my impression. And maybe, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, like at the kind of like out there mining sites.
Sure, yeah.
You have to like do your own laundry, so that makes sense to me. And then it says, and they left this at the end, while 21 women reported on an actual or attempted rape or sexual assault in the past 5 years.
Boy.
Jesus Christ. Bullying is systemic, experienced by almost half of the survey's respondents, she said on a report released by Rio on Tuesday. Sexual harassment and everyday sexism occur at unacceptable rates, racism is common across a number of areas. Broderick said everyday sexism was damaging in its own right, but also, quote, creates fertile ground for more serious misconduct such as sexual harassment and sexual assault. And this is the part that's terrifying to me. And, you know, having not lived my life as a woman, it's still just unbelievably horrific. It says sexual harassment, quote, was a significant organizational challenge, she said, experienced by 43% of women working at fly-in, fly-out and drive-in, drive-out mine sites, and 28% of women across the entire company.
Goddamn.
So if you can imagine some of these, you know, iron ore or bauxite, you know, formations that they're mining and drilling into are in the fucking middle of nowhere. So far that they have to fly in and out of it. Like, that's how far it is. And I'm sure they do a thing like offshore oil rig drilling where it's like you're out there for 3 weeks and you're on shore for 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever, that sort of thing. So they're saying that 28% of women across the entire company experienced sexual harassment. And that nearly doubles when you go to these, you know, far out mining sites, which makes sense, right? Yeah. It says here, women at FIFO work sites, fly in, fly out, spoke of eating alone in their room to avoid harassment in the dining hall and the gym, of avoiding being out after dark, of bad lighting and poor security, and of harassing, even threatening behavior from male colleagues when they were walking to their accommodation after work. Women also spoke of the lack of consequences when they reported these incidents, of having to carry the burden of managing the situation themselves rather than receiving support of management or human resources. And, you know, even you know, among office culture, or, you know, anywhere that's not in a fucking, you know, distant mining site, human resources is not there to help you.
Yeah, no.
Human resources is there to help the company.
Yeah, which sucks because there really is nobody to help you in those situations.
No. Racism was also rife, with 40% of men who identify as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander experiencing it in the last 5 years. Only 12% of men who did not identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander experienced racism in the past 5 years. Obviously. More than a third of both men and women working for the company in South Africa experienced racism. As one As one employee commented, quote, Rio is a Caucasian-oriented company. Oh. The survey found that 48% of employees experienced bullying, 53% of them women, 47% of them men. Employees described expectations that they should toughen up for life in a global miner. That's just like, so it's just saying like, hey, you want to work here? You have to subject yourself to abuse and harassment. That's just that's what it is. She said that LGBTIQ plus employees also experienced significantly elevated rates of bullying, sexual harassment, and racism. Again, you know, every protected class is worse in these companies.
Yeah.
Overall, these comments suggest that the same hypermasculine norms and culture that can fuel everyday sexism and sexual harassment can also fuel heterosexism, making the inclusion and safety of employees who identify as LGBTIQ plus a priority in any cultural form. She said Rio needs to adopt the same approach to psychological safety as it does towards physical safety, where the employee, quote, recognizes that workplaces cannot be free from injury or critical incidents if employees do not feel confident to report unsafe practices and risks. So I'm just going to skip down a little bit here. This part to me was crazy. Similarly, employees participating in listening sessions described a culture of silence and negative impacts from reporting of a lack of confidentiality and of the subject of complaints being protected and even rewarded. And this is the part that's fucking nuts to me. One participant said they still feared the person who bullied them, even though they had left the company.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. The culture of the team was really rotten to the core while he was the leader. Once that person starts firing your colleagues for speaking out, they have a level of power over you. So I'll just skip to the last part where it says a separate preliminary inquiry in Western Australia is examining sexual harassment at fly-in, fly-out mining sites. Tuesday's report follows turmoil among the top ranks of Rio after it blew up culturally significant 46,000-year-old rock shelters at the Yukon Gorge in the Pilbara in order to mine more iron ore.
So, like, the executives should just be, like, lined up against a wall and, you know, I don't know what else to say about that. Hugged them really tight with... Just beep that out. I really can't say that.
Please bleep that out. But that was really, really funny.
I just don't see what the solution is here.
Just so you know, and 2 weeks later, there was a Reuters article that came out that said Jakob Stausholm will need more than record shareholder payouts to catch up with rival Mike Henry. The new Rio Tinto chief announced a bumper of $17 billion dividend for 2021 on Wednesday, thanks to soaring iron ore prices.
Wow.
Meaning, basically they made so much money that they made seriously. And I'm just gonna just kind of talk about recap this myself. They made so much money and gave so much of it to investors that investors are mad that they had so much money to get because they would rather it be reinvested in things like mergers and acquisitions or capital expenditures to grow the company more and make even more money.
That's really sickening.
They would rather, instead of getting cash, they would rather have a company own more of a larger company's stock.
That's that grind mindset, you know? Would you rather have $17 billion or... an expanding company that abuses its entire workforce and blows up, sites that are tens of thousands of years old. Which would you rather? It's up to you.
I know what I would do. Beep, 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 beep. Again, this is, and we've talked about this a lot, these companies only exist because of international shipping, the ability to send these mining and minerals, offshore, sell them to large, refining companies like China, countries like China and stuff. I mean, these companies shouldn't exist. They should be broken up. Everything should be localized. They even need to use these to smelt into fucking goods that have planned obsolescence that they just throw in the fucking Pacific anyway. It's just the whole apparatus is completely corrupt and disgusting, and they're fucking abusing people to do it. Of course. They're making so much money they don't even know what to do with it. It's just how fucking insane and corrupt that all is. Okay, I'm done. That's my Sicko roundup. Rio Tinto sucks. You heard it first.
Shay, do you want me to go next or do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think mine is probably the silliest. So
do you want to go last with the silliest?
Yeah, I'll go last.
Mine will be a little silly, but
okay.
So I have
well, let's let the listeners decide who's the silliest. Vote now, text now.
Go to Joe 3030.
No, mine is not that silly. We'll see. Please rank each of our segments on silliness in the reply. So I have Salesforce, which I think, Shane, you pointed out was the 99th episode, which is the inverse of the 66th episode that Dwight did.
That's right.
That's pure coincidence. It's just because astrology is real and we each gravitated toward picking...
Activate episode 66.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about this because it's been in the news recently, but there are a couple of updates since our last episode, which I think we did. We recorded it in October. It probably came out end of October, beginning of November. In December, so shortly after, Mark Benioff named a co-CEO. So Salesforce actually has 2 CEOs now, which is a bit unusual.
Interesting.
It's not the first time Salesforce has had 2 CEOs. They've used this model before, and it could be for a couple of reasons. I read a few articles kind of speculating. It could be that he's kind of preparing to hand things over completely to the guy he named as co-CEO, which was their CEO and president, Brett Taylor. Or, it could be that he's preparing to have to step down in disgrace over something horrible that he did.
Oh,
That's totally possible, and we could speculate. I could speculate on that for a very long time if I wanted to, and I do think this is just that is the most likely thing, that he's just a sicko.
I'm speculating right now.
I'm speculating so hard. There's really no way to know, but anything is possible, and he's, a criminal. More recently, Salesforce was in the news because of their Super Bowl commercial, which I'm sure some of our listeners saw, but I know that you guys didn't see. Shane and
Absolutely did not watch the Super Bowl.
I don't know what it is.
I want to show it to you guys really quick. Let me...
I'll tell you, I call a Super Bowl when I take a salad bowl and pour an entire box of Honey Nut Cheerios.
All right, here, let me share my screen. Okay, so the title of this Super Bowl ad is The New Frontier. It says join hashtag Team Earth with Matthew McConaughey and Salesforce. Check it out.
Space, the boundary of human achievement, the new frontier.
What?
It's not time to escape. It's time to engage. It's time to plant more trees. It's time to build more trust.
What?
Time to make more space for all of us. So while the others look to the metaverse and Mars, let's stay here and restore ours.
No one is doing that.
Yeah, it's time to blaze our trail. Because the new frontier, it ain't rocket science. It's right here.
The desert? What the fuck does that mean? What is it? That means nothing.
For the listener, he was going around a city in a hot air balloon that whole time and to like farmland and pointing out various things there. Here, let me stop sharing. So they had this ad at the Super Bowl, which was kind of like a dig at, Elon Musk and like the space exploration stuff, and even took like a dig at the NFT stuff with the metaverse. And it's basically like the same kind of like feel good, nice corporate image bullshit that we talked about Benioff always trying to promote.
The environmentalist image.
Yes. Yeah. And this is supposedly like all part of their campaign to like promote awareness about reducing emissions. I don't know if we mentioned this on the show because of the timing, but last year they had announced that they were at net zero emissions as a company and that they were running on 100% renewable energy. And Benioff reaffirmed his whole commitment to sequestering 100 gigatons of carbon by restoring, conserving, or growing 1 trillion trees through his 1 trillion trees initiative. And we could talk a lot about how scientists have said this is actually like a bad idea, and like the science that it's based on is kind of shaky. And it also just like it doesn't really buy us any time compared to like other initiatives that are much more important, but it is like a very like snappy and like, immediately recognizable way to be like, we're planting 1 trillion trees, we're the good guys.
Right.
But interestingly, this brings us to the other recent development at Salesforce, which is that with all this like talk about environmentalism and sustainability, they are getting into NFTs.
Yep, of course.
Benioff mentioned on a sales call that they're looking at making a platform to rival OpenSea, which I'm sure most of our listeners are probably familiar, but it is just a platform to like sell and trade NFTs. And this is not actually new. I was surprised because I don't think we talked about this, probably because it just wasn't like at the forefront at the time. But as we mentioned on the episode, Benioff owns Time Magazine, and Time Magazine has been in the NFT game for a while. So this shouldn't exactly be surprising if you like work for the company and like know about it. But the employees are like really, really unhappy about the NFT thing. A bunch of them are threatening to resign. There's a lot of articles that characterize it as a revolt among the employees. And, they're like pissed off that the company is like saying all this, like I said, sustainability and environmental stuff, and then just kind of like seemingly not giving a fuck. So more than 400 Salesforce employees signed a letter addressed to Benioff and his co-CEO, Brett Taylor. One of the employees who signed the letter said, "I'll find a company that lives by its stated values." Salesforce responded by saying, "Our core values guide everything we do, including the development of our products. We welcome our employees' feedback and are proud to foster a culture of trust that empowers them to raise diverse points of view. We are hosting a listening session with employees and will use their input to strengthen our path forward." Obviously bullshit. Stop. That's what they do about everything. I think the interesting thing to me about this is not just like the obvious hypocrisy of getting into a space with serious environmental concerns while supposedly ramping up your environmental activism. But it's also the idea that this would be the last straw for somebody who works at Salesforce. Because if you listen to the previous episode, you know that Salesforce partners with CBP and is instrumental in just enabling their day-to-day operations in a variety of ways. Just a refresher, this came out, I think, in 2018, that they were partnering with them. And again, this is the agency responsible for separating families at the border. They use Salesforce to manage border activities, modernize their recruiting process, and a few other things. Salesforce does like a lot of automation stuff and case management stuff that any agency like needs software like that to be able to run it all. And they tried to diffuse this by donating $250,000 to ISIS, and ISIS rejected that and tried to talk to them. They set up a call to see if they could like negotiate canceling this contract. And at the last minute, Benioff backed out of that and said, "Sorry, I'm actually scuba diving right now." And they never had.
No.
Yeah. I don't remember if we mentioned that bit on the show. But
we did.
Yeah.
That was because I was covering that. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course
my God, I don't
they
that.
never canceled that CBP contract. That is still active. They also partner with various other government agencies and law enforcement, and they have just a ton of demos online showing the different ways that their tools and their AI can be used for crime reporting, case management, just enabling the day-to-day operations of all the worst oppressors that you can kind of imagine. So again, all this is stuff we've mostly talked about, but I bring it up to highlight what I feel is just the absurdity that these employees think the NFT thing is the last straw. And I think this is an example that just shows the limits of tech workers trying to bring about change from inside of a company like this that's just like explicitly evil. These workers have access to cripple the day-to-day operations of agencies like CBP if they wanted to. But the news cycle just kind of moved on from that, and I guess the employees just kind of moved on from it too. And I think there's just kind of a moral danger in letting your activism and your anger be dictated by that news cycle, right? NFTs are like the big bad right now. And again, they're obviously not good, but the company hasn't even been held accountable for what it did before this. There's no indication that another angry letter is going to change any of the company's behavior, because they did a letter when like the CBP thing came out, and obviously it had like zero effect. And I say all this to say, if you're listening to this and you work for Salesforce or another similar tech company, you should absolutely just like
Whoa.
Just insert a very long beep there. Just very, very, very long beep. And then, look into...
I mean, fundamentally,
look into the potential federal crime penalties for any actions you take. I'm not a lawyer. It's just a suggestion. And that's what I've got. That's it.
Oh, my God. Wow. Well, then. Next time a cop pulls me over and he's like, "License, registration, proof of insurance, you've been drinking tonight, sir." I'm just going to go, "I'm sorry, I'm scuba diving."
That's right.
That is such like, it's so enraged. And again, the news cycle just moved on from that. When I was like researching any more recent news about Salesforce, I came across like the big push that they're doing right now in relation to Benioff himself is there's like a bunch of profiles from the last 2 weeks about how he like cold called Apple to get his first internship and what like a self-starter he is and what he learned at the internship. Like they're very, very clearly like trying to push away the NFT stuff by doing this like PR push about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking joke. But before you go, Shane, I would just like to say that it has been maybe like 6 months since this has happened. But the fucking, I don't know, he's got to be somewhere close. The fucking guy is talking in my ear.
Oh!
I'm hearing the voice. The voice is, he's not dead. He's back.
I forgot about that.
It's like a ham radio operator, and I hear him right now. 99919. He's like,
that's so weird.
I wish he's screaming right now. I don't know what he's screaming.
Dwight is actually part of the trucker convoy. And
wait, hang on. Tell me if you can hear this. Hang on. Well, now he's quiet.
He's doing the Michigan J Frog.
He can probably hear you on the other end.
Oh shit!
No. Oh shit!
Oh shit!
Do not listen to my thoughts, sir.
I don't hear anything.
I really,
there's no way, dude. There's no way.
I don't.
Maybe this is it, man.
I think that's really the more likely scenario here, buddy. But,
Teresa, give me the pill.
It's happening again, Teresa.
So I have my little thing I want to give an update on. That I might as well get into now. I have a couple of different things I want to say. So me just take a look and see what the best way to bring this up. But I wanted to talk about the Siegels, David and Jackie Siegel.
Yes,
they
dude.
were, responsible for the Westgate Resorts timeshare empire. And we talked about them on episode 83 of the show. And in that one, part of what we did is we covered that documentary, The Queen of Versailles, which came out in around 2012. Which is about them building, the largest house in America. It's a fantastic movie. It was sort of one of the spurning things to look into them more and do an episode on them. Because they have this giant fucking house project, that they've been building now for decades in Florida, and the way that the documentary is sort of framed as it shows them going through the recession and everything, and the sort of work on the house being stalled and it being this kind of husk of its former self. But in the interim now, 10 years since that came out, I mean they've been still working on the house. And that's right around the corner, and that's where I'm gonna get to with some of the kind of more up to date information on them. But as a quick recap, again, David Siegel, CEO of this company, Westgate Resorts, which is like the timeshare scam model. They have places all over the place in Florida and Vegas. And we mentioned a bunch of stuff about them on that episode, but a few of the things that I'm not entirely sure if we had mentioned at that time. I know we talked a little bit about his politics. There's a very revealing moment in the documentary, which is also taken from a news clip from 2000 during the election of George W. Bush, where he basically kind of takes credit for helping steal the election for Bush.
Interesting.
Yeah, and,
that was so good.
And following through with that, he was also, obviously, he was a big Trump guy. He was a big supporter of the Trump campaign. They were at a couple of his rallies and stuff in the background. A couple were. And I don't remember if we had mentioned this detail on the show, but even if we did, it's so good. I got to mention it twice. And I'll just read from this one Orlando Weekly piece from 2016 by Colin Wolfe. And I don't want to read the title because it kind of gives it away. But it's just a couple sentences here. Quote, Westgate Resorts CEO David Siegel is more than excited about Donald Trump's presidential win on Tuesday. Speaking with the Orlando Sentinel's Paul Brinkman, Siegel gave the full salute to Trump and promised to swell his real estate business now that the Donald is in the Oval Office. Quote, it's the greatest thing that's happened to me since I discovered sex, said Siegel. In the next 4 years, we're going to dwarf what we've done. I'll go out on a limb financially to grow this company, end quote. So, just kind of a weird, funny thing to compare, the victory of Trump to sex, some kind of clever writing in that little write-up there. That's all the more disgusting when you put it in the context of something that we did cover quite heavily on the show, which is the various, sexual harassment lawsuits that have been brought against David Siegel over the course of his time as CEO. And again, any interview you watch with the guy, or especially his profile in that documentary film, again, you just he's a creep. It's so,
yeah.
it's God. It's so incredibly clear.
There's the part with the beauty pageant girls where it's just he's disgusting.
Yeah. And I mean, Jackie Siegel had been a beauty pageant contestant, right, which is sort of how they met originally. It's very clear that she was sort of a trophy wife kind of person, and now that she's, older, she's, middle-aged or whatever, he actively says to her many times in the documentary, oh, I'm going to leave you for a 20-year-old or whatever.
He just really does say gross, it a lot. He's just a huge piece of
really,
shit.
really gross guy. One thing I'm not entirely sure if we covered on the on that episode is that Jackie as well has had a number of sexual harassment lawsuits against her. And I won't get into a huge amount of detail on this, but there was a big one that came out in 2020 with her chef, one of her personal chefs in their current mansion or whatever. And she would make all sorts of inappropriate comments to him, saying oh, if you're a Latin chef, you must be good in bed.
Jesus.
Oh,
and
boy.
And very periodically would either flash her behind or her breasts to him as a quote joke, that was the way that she framed it, and made all kinds of advances on him, was very flirtatious, would say come on, why don't you come to the sex room with me? And according to one of the things I read, when the lawsuit was originally filed, the chef talked to his superior, who was like the executive chef for the house. He brought the complaints to them first, and the executive chef was like, "Oh, you too." The implication being that she sort of did this to everybody on her staff. So
that's
also
so
kind of
awful.
A horrible little culture of abuse there. But that's all stuff that sort of been covered by the episode. Where are they now? What's going on now? The first thing I want to share, it's just funny to me. And I stumbled across this. And I'll get into some more detail because this might also point to like another episode we could potentially do in the future. But I was just looking up, David and Jackie Siegel, because I like to sort of keep tabs on them and see what they're up to. And I found this YouTube news clip from Florida National News, which is about as legitimate as it sounds. It's based out of Orlando. And I'll really quickly read first. If you go to Florida National News, their website, it says, Florida National News, founded in 2014, is an online daily publication with mobile bureaus in the Daytona, Tampa, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, and Miami markets. Our mission is to bring you what you're hungry for, unbiased, independent journalism.
Yes,
not to mention positive news for a change. Florida National News goes beyond the soundbite to give you the whole story. And if you go to their top, actually, I might just share my screen right now. If you go to their top of their their different like topic headings on their thing, world, US, Florida, politics, sports, entertainment, business, faith, and family.
Perfect.
So that should give you an idea of like how truly independent or whatever they are.
To me, it's normal.
I want to show this clip from Florida National News. It really only has David and Jackie Siegel for like a second in it, but again, it just sort of gets into some other weird territory that I want to talk about for a second.
This is Janice Garcia with Florida National News, and we're here at the Orlando International Airport at the Atlantic Aviation, where the best of the best are here with some big celebrities. David and Jackie Siegel, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous. I love this event so much.
I started this company about 15 years ago. It basically started as one small cocktail party for a couple of guys and gals with exotic cars. And now it's kind of grown into what you see here. We're really happy. This kind of kicks off the Orlando Ritz-Carlton event. 30 days later, we do St. Petersburg, and then a week later, we're in Miami. So this is our peak season.
Oh God!
When was this from?
I should have led. This was of December of last year, so this was only a couple months ago.
Yeah, not a mask in sight.
No, yeah. So
in Florida,
this is what it's covering. It doesn't say
in December.
Outright. Yeah. It's like a Christmas time event.
How nice.
This is the Festivals of Speed luxury lifestyle reception, and
I love a luxury lifestyle.
The second guy that they interview in this clip is the CEO of this, who's named Joe Sabatini. And I looked a little bit into this.
I think I grew up with him down in Todd Hill.
It started, it was 2004 or 2005. He started this thing, which is just like showing off a collection of luxury vehicles, which is just, the peak of sort of weird rich people gaudiness.
Helicopters
they're just standing around like a bunch of, like high-end sports cars and other vehicles.
Helicopters.
And I really do want to look more into this guy later on, because it reminded me of episode 82 we did of the show on Clive Palmer and his weird like classic car collection that was like next to his dinosaur park or whatever, if you guys remember that. So I do want to look into this. I saw some other quick headline about how he was sad like the previous year that they couldn't do the Festivals of Speed because of COVID, and then in 2021 he's like, we're still ready to do it. And Dwight, as you pointed out, nobody's wearing masks or anything. But when Jackie and David Siegel are being interviewed here, I don't know if you notice what's behind them, but
like a fucking Spitfire.
Yeah,
or something.
it looks like a fighter.
It's the Memphis Belle, which is a famous B-17 flying fortress from the Second World War.
There it is.
Which, like there was like a propaganda film about it in the 40s because it did like a ton of combat missions. I believe,
that's
over
really
Japan.
good. That's really good.
Yeah, here's the propaganda film poster for the Memphis Belle.
Jesus Christ!
Over Germany, it did its missions. But anyway, I guess that's like now preserved or whatever for in this guy's collection. I'm assuming maybe it's on loan from whatever military aviation museum. But it's just funny that if you're just like uber rich, like the kinds of vehicles you can surround yourself with. And there was a similar thing too, a vibe in the Clive Palmer's car collection. He had like cars that had previously been owned or had driven like famous war criminals as something that like he thought was like a good thing to have.
A lot of these rich sickos just love collecting fucking cars and shit. I remember, I think this came up in like the LuLaRoe documentary where it was like two, like the CEO and like some other like billionaire guy had like connected over their love of like collecting cars. And it's just like, what a weird, especially when you start involving like fighter jets or whatever. What a fucking weird sicko hobby.
Yeah. And again, it's like, it's not even like, like, oh, I'm a hobbyist and I'm a pilot or
I work on cars and restore them.
Right. It's literally just like look on my planes, ye mighty, and despair.
Yeah,
and I can have like
I
can have like a cocktail party with all my other rich scumbag friends, and we can just walk around and go like, wow, look at how expensive that car is. I mean, it's like the pure gaudiness of it.
Yeah.
It's my lifestyle is I love being near expensive things, not owning them, but drinking bad Sauvignon Blanc with a guy who's just shedding spike proteins in my face. That's my lifestyle. That's what I like.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think the Joe Sabatini guy is worth looking into more. I was trying to just do a quick Google search when I stumbled upon him. I didn't really find too much. I think it's very possible that he just he's just like a rich guy who inherited a bunch of money or whatever.
The very interesting thing is I looked him up really quick, and he's been doing the car thing for like 20 years. So this is his only job is doing the car events.
Right. So he likely comes from quite a bit of money.
Only job.
But if you, the first thing that came up when I looked him up on LinkedIn, when I looked him up on Google is his LinkedIn profile. It says, he's been doing that for 15, 16 years. And under the activity page, it's just, there's a like from him on I guess like a LinkedIn blog post that just says, it's time to take our country back. #America first.
Go off.
So, it's that, these are like, this is like.
You want free college, you got to earn it.
And then a picture of like soldiers just, getting blown apart.
Yes, yeah. So, maybe somebody to look into in the future. But back to David and Jackie Siegel. Like I said, for a long time, this impossible project of recreating the Versailles Palace as this like huge, gaudy McMansion has been their sort of like white whale. They've never given up on it. They didn't end up selling it. They're still working on it. But a little update from just a couple of weeks ago, and this is from a website called therealdeal.com, South Florida real estate news.
I love deals.
This is from February 7th by Lydia Dinkova, and the name of this article is Queen of Versailles, Jackie Siegel, and timeshare mogul husband David pay $5 million for waterfront North Palm beach house. So I'd like to just read, this is a pretty short article, so I'll just read the whole thing. Timeshare mogul David Siegel and his wife Jackie, known as the Queen of Versailles, bought a waterfront North Palm beach house for $5.2 million. The Siegels purchased the 5-bedroom, 6,867 square foot home at 832 Harbor Isles Place. The address is in the article. I'm not doing any extra thing. From Stanley and Adele Janelle, according to public records. This is talking about, it just gets into some more of their background. And it brings up, the mansion, which is still incomplete. The not the mansion they just purchased, mind you, but the their sort of like giant Versailles house. The mansion, which some media outlets have reported as being even bigger, just over 100,000 square feet, would be among the biggest in the U.S. when completed. As of December 2020, it was unfinished, and Jackie Siegel told Fox Business that it was near completion. In the couple's latest purchase in North Palm Beach, the home was built in 2003 on 0.3 acres in the Harbor Isles neighborhood. The house has 5 full baths and 2 half baths, as well as a 3-car garage and a dock for an up to a 70-foot yacht on the North Palm Beach waterway, according to Realtor.com.
Too small.
How
Too small.
do you have
Too small.
a 3-car garage on 0.3 of an acre?
The home... Here we go. Some more details about the house.
Fuck?
The home includes a fireplace, a butler's pantry with a 75-bottle wine closet, and a chef's kitchen with 2 dishwashers. The ground floor master bedroom has large walk-in closets and his or hers marble baths. A winding staircase leads to the second story, and the house also has a birdcage elevator. Other features include Saturnia marble floors, impact glass, and soaring coffered ceilings.
Now, do they have like a layout, like blueprints of the property
with all the structural components to it?
The alarm points, any trip wires?
Yeah, there isn't anything too much in terms of security information detailed here, but this is like clearly, it's a small price to pay for they got to live somewhere while their other house is in completion, and of course by somewhere they already do have other mansions that they live in, but this is just like another quick little acquisition, a little getaway house for them while they're
pathetically small.
While they're finishing up their major one. And one of the things that we had hinted at is that when we last did the episode, the talk had been, which is sort of brought up in this article too, that as of 2020, the house was still under completion, and it was still under construction, but it was aiming towards completion. And one of the snags for them, very unfortunately, was COVID really put a dent in their plans, so they had to stop construction for a certain while. It was so hard for them. Yeah, it was really a tough time for them to get through. But the plan had been always that sort of in the last wind-up timing of building the house, which Jackie, I think, in 2020 had said, it'll be maybe another 18 months or something like that until it's finally done, this sort of sprawling, almost 20-year project. What she had wanted to do is bring in cameras and film a reality show. That would chronicle, her completion of the house and all the dramas that ensued, because obviously, like the Queen of Versailles documentary that we watch is very critical of them, but they were able to spin it positively. I mean, she still goes by the Queen of Versailles, thing, like that was on the Chiron before in her interview. They made another she funded another documentary herself about her daughter who died from an overdose of drugs, which we talked about as well, and they called that the Princess of Versailles. I mean, it's very much like this self-branding exercise.
Yeah.
And so wouldn't you know it, just a few days ago, they finally announced the show is coming out.
Yes!
It's gonna be on,
I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's gonna be on Discovery Plus. The name of the show.
Discovery Plus, don't worry.
The name of the show is Queen of Versailles Reigns Again.
Let's fucking go.
And there's a trailer for the series, which will be airing in late March, and I wanted to play it here. So let me.
It's okay.
I mean, I know Dwight too. You're also familiar with them again, sort of through the media reality TV
Below Deck.
Below Deck.
I just, it's like I just want to say, like, we are living in now, a time of income inequality that has blown away like the Gilded Age and shit.
Yeah.
And the fact that is occurring, and you as like a fucking capitalist or whatever, like, an oligarch or whatever, call yourself the Queen of Versailles. Like,
it's so funny.
Has she read any history?
It's so funny.
Does she know how this story ends?
It's really funny. I mean, and again, that's like before I play this trailer, because it will just aggravate the shit out of you. I'll just say too that, like, to your point, like that's what makes the documentary so great, and is that at the timing that it came out, it really does chronicle their sort of rise and fall, seemingly because they start building this house basically in the Bush boom. And they plan it to be like the largest house ever, and that was like its own kind of also like sort of a aesthetic era of like ultimate gaudiness, right? And then when the recession hits and the company starts to fall apart and all this stuff, like there are these really incredible shots of this like empty shell, fucking totally unfinished house with like the Disney fireworks.
I was just about to say like that. I think about that all the time. It's such a good bit of filmmaking.
It's kind of and then also to the fact that his money is entirely based on like the timeshare scam thing. Right. It's like a really interesting encapsulation of like the sort of dwindling dream of home ownership for like the middle class, and it going to this like rich asshole who then can't even finish his like monument to his own like splendor, right? Like, but then the kicker is, he gets to bounce back, and then that's like why I brought up the Trump thing as well, because similarly, like and that's why he supports Trump. I mean, clearly, just from his like awful like creepiness, like he doesn't give a fuck about like whatever the sort of evangelical wing of the Republican Party of like family values or anything like that. He's just like a scumbag businessman. I mean, he is like a Trump-like figure, right? He's like a phony...
I mean, he's like aspiring to be like Trump. It's very obvious.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so they were able to, exploit that time period to their benefit, and kind of resume and I guess sort of finish up the house. And so,
happy for them.
Just one last thing. Like, this is in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any idea what it costs to cool that?
I mean, it's also
amount of square footage.
It's also funny because, like, of climate change, the house probably won't last that long.
No,
right?
Yeah,
it's going to be a fucking.
It's not going to last as long
habitat.
as like the fucking, actual palace of Versailles.
Like what is luxurious about like 7 rooftop commercial HVAC cooling systems?
Yeah.
Like like I don't fucking like, it's so classless.
I mean,
anyway.
one thing, and again, this is, we'll watch the trailer and we'll all react to it, but I do recommend, listeners of the show, you look it up yourself, because there's, a heavy visual component to this, and, it's supposed to be like a sizzle reel of like all the deep dramatic moments.
God,
and stuff
I can't wait to watch it. The anticipation
but like one of the funny things is like there are a couple of times where they show like stuff goes wrong with the house and they have to redo stuff, or like also after 20 years there's like new insane plans of like we're gonna reorganize what we initially had planned to put here or whatever. So you see them like taking down parts of the house, and you can also see like ultimately, like, even for as big and opulent that it's supposed to be, like, how cheaply made some of the parts of the house are.
So
it's just, like, fucking...
ridiculous.
It's just, like, cheap drywall. But here, let me show this trailer here.
Here we are. We're ready to share this with the world.
Oh, my God.
My name is Jackie Siegel, and my husband is David Siegel.
I'm building the largest home in America.
It's now time to finish Versailles.
God, I hate them so much.
Oof, I think I'm going to ruin my
she
shoes.
goes there in a helicopter.
I'd like to show you around a little bit.
If she wants something, she's going to go get it.
One statue is like $30,000. What do you think, Mochi? You like it? The house, it should be a little bit bigger, actually. We bought the land in 2000. A couple years later, we started construction.
Tiger.
What the fuck? The tiger?
It's taken me 20 years to build. I've been through the loss of a child. I value family
God, I
more
hate
than
her
ever.
so bad.
He's heard about our house, girls. Our kids are growing up. We want to live here as a family. Failure is not an option. We don't have much time left.
Failure is not an option.
Oh, trust me, you don't have much time left.
There's so many chefs in the kitchen that you don't get the perfect recipe. Don't we have a Versace emblem?
Can't put these inside a house. Everything comes out.
What?
Acid issues.
I don't think we need to make it more
It's
complicated.
like crumbling marble.
Is the marble gonna crack?
The water's dripping on all your antiques.
Grace. Okay. I don't know what I'm in for. This is one frickin' mess up.
When the guy said the water's dripping on all your antiques, she did like the fake crying face that me and Shane do when we're like making fun of Rolo being sad. She was like,
yeah. I don't know if you guys also caught this line too, but there was one point, I guess they were at some kind of wildlife preserve, and one of the daughters asked like, how many flamingos are you going to try to get? And she's like, as many as I can. So I guess they're also just gonna fill this house with all kinds of and
there
one
was
of the
a
things
tiger.
Again, all these like weird exotic animals, and as was demonstrated in the documentary originally,
so
they just had like dead pets and like roaches everywhere, stuffed
starved
pets.
to death lizard.
There was just dog shit like literally everywhere in the house because they don't
clean
have
up
like
after
servants to clean up after
These
them.
people are fucking disgusting.
They're really like
it's like foul.
Yeah,
it's
dirty.
That
people.
lizard was dead for days before anyone even noticed, and then she was just like holding it up, like you killed it.
Yeah.
That was so God,
so anyway, that'll be coming out, in about a month
on Discovery Plus.
I'm sure, Carrie and I are gonna watch the entire fucking thing and talk about it.
Just a quick plug for Discovery Plus. You can watch 1,000 Pound Sisters. One of my favorite shows is on there.
Mm-hmm.
All of the 90 Day Fiancé franchises, I believe.
Yeah, that's
as
good
well
stuff.
as Love Off the Grid. Fantastic show. Just, get in there. It's only like $7.99 a month or something. It's so good. It's worth it. I'm pretty sure there's history stuff
I think people should subscribe to our show instead, personally.
Yeah, but do both. Come on.
Yeah,
treat yourself. You're worth it.
I don't really like reality TV too much, but sometimes
you're missing
Carrie
out, dude.
Wrote me into one or two, but this is one that I'm going to have to actively hate watch, and we can provide more updates on the on their house and their expansion. I don't know if that's a signal then that the actual house is complete if they've already like recorded much of the show.
Not necessarily.
It could be still ongoing.
They could be just recording the process of it failing. Ideally, that would be the funniest thing.
If you saw it too with the in that one clip I showed earlier from the whatever the what's the guy's name?
Joe Sabatini.
Joe Sabatini's luxury car emporium or whatever. That one like cutaway shot of the interview of the two of them. I gotta say, David does not look good.
No, he looks unwell.
No,
was he even in the
he
bumper thing for the like reality show?
Very, very briefly.
Very briefly. Yeah.
So there's a good chance that we'll have some fun news.
You just know she's waiting for him to keel over and drop dead.
Yeah,
she's just waiting.
There's got to be some reason, like some tax purpose to like be throwing money at this thing, like. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make sense. Like even like in rich people's like most insane pathologies.
I think this is their ambition. I really think that they want to have, especially the sort of notoriousness of it, of like the largest house in America. I think for me the funniest outcome that I really hope happens is if like if Trump runs again or becomes president again. And and they like give him full-throated support, and the house gets finished. I hope he like seizes it via like eminent domain, and then just turns it into like Mar-a-Lago 2 or whatever. But it's just his like it's like his Xanadu or whatever. But he's just like alone in this giant empty house. That would be some fun content for me. But
you can see it on Truth Social.
Show.
Yeah. So a little bit more to look forward to with these sickos.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
And I mean, it will also be interesting with them too, because now when they came out with the documentary, most of their kids were they were like
young,
6, 7, 8. Some of them were teenagers. Now they're gonna be adults,
they're
and
eventually,
the dad is gonna die. Not too long in the future, unless he's getting like weird like fucking bionic rich people in
stem cell treatments.
Insertions into his body or whatever.
It could be.
But it's a hefty fortune, a big house. How that's gonna go with whatever they have, like fucking 12 kids or something. It's crazy.
And like 18 dogs they have.
Yeah.
She had a new little dog. Probably all the dogs from the documentary are dead, I guess, and mounted.
Oh, yeah. They're probably all mounted. There's probably just a hall of dogs instead of the hall of mirrors.
And that's also where the new dogs shit. It's just covered in dog shit all over.
He's worth $500 million.
Yeah, he's not even.
These people don't need their fucking money.
He's not even like the super. He has one of the things that he brings up in the documentary, and I'm sure it's still the case. Is he ties up all of his money into into the company. Like sort of like you were talking about, Dwight, with like the Rio Tinto stockholders or whatever being mad at getting like a payout, and it's like, why don't you just reinvest it? Like that's been his logic, living. It's like, a perfect example of sort of like consistently living beyond your means and what have you. So, whatever ends up happening, like there's no way that family can retain that house, I think, indefinitely. So, it'll just become like a weird monument.
Oh shit, man! We really need to watch the celebrity wife swap episode with them. Like, hello.
I saw Dwight like crumble inside when he said that.
Who did she swap with?
Fucking sickos.
Jeremy London and David Siegel swap wives.
Jeremy London.
Jeremy London is an American actor from Party of Five, Seventh Heaven, and I'll Fly Away.
No idea who this person is. Never seen this person in my life.
Celebrity wife swap.
I don't remember like seeing this when we covered them on the show, but he was also an actor in 2 movies called Held for Ransom and Night Terror. David Siegel was.
Oh, that's gonna happen to him. Trust me.
Right?
Both of those things is how I would describe his experience.
He played a crime scene detective and a policeman, respectively, in each one, which is very funny. I would love to see a clip of that.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Well, maybe for another Sicko Roundup down the line.
All right, 100 episodes.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody, over the last 2 years that we've done the Patreon stuff. Thanks for the support, sincerely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very pleased with our trajectory. May we hit 200 episodes.
150.
150.
Or be...
We'll see.
150. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
125.
I'm not planning a Versailles right now.
101.
Okay? I'll settle for the West Palm Beach house, okay?
I'll settle for
Sounds
a cabin. Get me away from here.
I'll settle for a fucking sewer.
Hey.
S is for sewer suntan.
To close this out, I'd like to prepare. I would like to sing a song for you that I've been preparing for.
Okay.
Zip tie my front.
It goes like this. It goes like this. And that's off of the Christmas album.
Merry Christmas.
So get ready for that.
Happy New Year.
Love you so
All right,
much.
folks.
All the holidays.
See you later.
Bye.
Rolling, 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 though the streams are swollen, keep them doggies rolling real hard. Rain and wind and weather, hell bent for leather, wishing my gal was by my side. All the things I'm missing, good victuals, love and kissing, are waiting at the end of my ride. Move 'em on, hit 'em up, hit 'em up, move 'em on, move 'em on, hit 'em up, rawhide, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, rawhide. Keep moving, 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 though they're disapproving, keep them doggies moving, rawhide. Don't try to